Oh.
Can you move it back a little bit?
Yeah.
No, just, I mean, tilt it back a little bit.
Yeah. Yay. Oh, hello. It's been quite a morning. Yeah, it's been an interesting morning. And we're just riding the waves with that. And yeah, just going to give it a whirl and see what happens. That's like, you know, that's part of it. It's part of life, huh? Yeah, so quick intro from me. So welcome to the Intimacy Dialogues. These are raw, authentic, live dialogues on love.
Wait, you didn't tell me about that.
Yeah, see, we lured him in. He doesn't even know what he's here for. On love and sex and conscious relating, whatever that is. This is what we're exploring, actually. And my name is Sonja Shradha Devi, and I'm a tantric coach and healer and facilitator, and I'm absolutely fascinated with what is intimacy and how can we experience that with ourselves? How can we experience that with others? What is it to live an intimate life? Like, what is that? And I think probably the perfect person to talk to about that particular subject is this man. Yeah. So even though today I feel like total shit and I'm premenstrual and David has also had a hard morning and the whole technical thing is like a total palaver. Despite that, I'm so excited to be here and to be here with David Cates.
Yeah.
And I want to give a little kind of background into my experience of your work and my experience of you before handing it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah? So for the last 6 months, my world has been rocked by Bellytobelly meditation. And so this is a meditation that David created.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Discovered,
birthed, this midwifing into the world. And what I just love it so much because it brings my own journey into meditation and intimacy and how it is to be live life whilst being really tuned into the more subtle level of reality and sharing that with others and engaging with life in that way. It kind of brings that all into practice. And I feel like it really coaxes people into a more intimate relationship with themselves. And I've noticed that it's given me so much. It's opened up lots of like little doors of understanding and experience. It's I've had my intimacy needs met on the floor with strangers, which has been great because that means that I've been less clingy in my life because I've been feeling really met and nurtured, and I've been learning a lot about myself through that. Yeah, really. And I've also been noticing lots of other people also having really like profound transformations and openings. And what I love is that really all this is happening without anyone doing anything at all. And without you don't seem to do anything at all. Which is the beauty of you, because actually you're not trying to do anything. You are just in your vastness, and somehow through you being in your vastness and guiding very intuitively from that place, amazing things are happening. And my experience of you is like, I feel that you're a very unique being and I know that you're not asking me to celebrate you, but I'm going to celebrate you anyway. Is that you're a unique being in that you actually, you're actually really at home in yourself. Like fully at home in yourself. And through you being really fully at home in yourself, being in your presence, I start to feel really relaxed and like everything is okay.
It is.
Yeah. And you really are that, and you know that in every cell of your body. And through that,
at least a majority of the cells.
Yeah. It seems like you vibrate that pretty holistically. Yeah. And that's incredible. That's incredible. That's an amazing experience just to be with you. And to be in that field is awesome.
Thanks.
And I also feel like, and we just have so much fun as well, you know, like fun, like I never for 1 second would feel judged by you, you know, and in your teachings, in the way that you encourage people to teach, is that you're letting everyone know that it's not about changing reality. It's actually about just being there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No fighting.
No fighting.
No
yes.
resisting.
No resisting.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way, we're in Bali, so it's noisy.
There are motorbikes.
What to do? Yes, there are motorbikes. There's many things. We're being with that.
Brief story. I was on a
Please,
stupid
please,
story, but
please,
the
yes.
motorbike reminded me. I was on a call last week, and someone said, "Oh, I hear in the background all those beautiful birds. Oh, I just imagine you in the jungle. Oh, it's so beautiful." And I said, "Yeah, well, if you were on a video right now, you'd see they're picking through black plastic garbage bags on the side of the road and scattering trash everywhere." That's Bali.
Yeah.
Beauty and noise and ugliness all mixed up together.
And that's life, huh?
That is life. Yeah.
And so how have you made peace with that? Like, I feel like you've made like a very strong peace with life.
Well, I mean, that's been going on for a long time, but Bali has a particular contribution to that for me. Because when I came here, I had always, you know, in the West, it's always like Star Wars, good versus evil, and one's got to vanquish the other, and, you know, like, oh, I'm transforming and I have to like kill all my ego and my shadows and all this shit. And then you come here and like the thing that you see everywhere is this black and white checkerboard cloth that they wrap around all the statues. Is how they dress them. And the cloth is just about the balance between the forces of darkness and light. And so all they're looking for, all they pray for, all of their beautiful rituals are just to, let's keep it all in balance. Let's keep it all in balance. So I take that as a beautiful metaphor for like how I feel about it all. The ugliness and the beauty, the masculine and the feminine, the darkness and the light, all of it, just let it coexist. And it's not like we need to, all the stress comes from trying to get rid of something. Yeah, if we can just embrace it and love it as it is, everything keeps flowing in ways that are beyond beautiful. Beyond
beautiful. And what I find really interesting, like, okay, what really stands out for me is that you actually experience this. This isn't a concept.
No,
for you.
It's reality.
And so how has that become your sensory, visceral reality? I mean, I know you have like amazing teachings around one of your focuses is on like the animal body, and so and looking at things from that perspective. And you know that most of us are like stuck in our heads. We're in fight or flight. We're in like so you know from that place, it's really hard to surrender to what you're talking about. And could you talk a little bit about that?
I think first I'd just like to talk about the head and the heart, because in the mind, all the maps that we make they're kind of black and white. They're just like a printed map. And if there's one thing here, there can't be another thing. It's like everything has to have its own place in its own perfect position. And in the heart, everything can coexist. I can love you and hate you. I can I can't live with you. I can't live without you, all at the same time. So there's a richness that happens in the body and the heart that allows everything to sing at once. So rather than picking out like, this is the thing that needs to happen, it's like, obviously all 200,000 of these things need to be happening at the same time. And it's not my business or problem to sort them out. I'm just here to like enjoy the music and dance to it. And can I find ways to dance to all the different possibilities? And when you get into concepts, you can't do that. It's like everybody's arguing. It's my way. No, it's my way. You have to see it like this. You have to see it like this.
But I observe people stuck in that without even knowing that they're there.
Yes.
And so this is where I feel like the belly-to-belly meditation is so awesome, because it actually takes people into that experience where they can actually sense all those 2,000 things at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they have the chance to include it.
Yes.
But until they can actually feel that level of the subtle, then it's just concept land, it's just reaction land.
Yes.
And so could you talk more about how you developed Belly to Belly and to bring that experience, or how it brings that experience, or whatever?
Ooh, so there's a couple. It's this, not that. There's a couple. Do you want me to be looking at you or looking at the screen, or does it matter? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple of streams. One on a very practical level. I was working as a sexual healer, and in order to create the kind of deeply felt safety that's required to do that work, I had to find a way to get into the nervous system in the animal body. So work with the natural impulses to protect and defend and be anxious and look for differences and separation and threats and all that. Especially when someone's been traumatized, that's very alive and very real. So what could we do to drop below that level? And the way down, the way in, was the breath in the body. So that stream was going on, and at the same time there's another stream, the spiritual stream, the spiritual awakening stream, of just non-duality, of this and that. You know, like you're everything. So how do you embrace that? And coming into the animal body as a way to meditate, really. And Tantra, the whole path of Tantra as being the great, you know, like the great direction. So many of the spiritual traditions are about up and out. Let's transcend, let's ascend, let's, you know, like high vibe, and we're out of all this mess. We're just not going to deal with it.
Yeah. Don't get lost in all that feeling stuff, you know, that distraction, that illusion. Yeah.
So Tantra, the great insight of Tantra is down and in. Down and in is where you will find
down
God.
Into the real nitty-gritty sensory experience.
Yes.
As a window to something.
As a portal into the present moment, and from the present moment into the fully felt awareness of God.
Fully felt awareness of God.
So when I feel God as a concept, I can create a religion. But when I feel God as a presence, as a living, ever-changing presence, then my experience can be about love rather than about a relationship with an abstract being. So even heaven, you know, it's like we want to create heaven on earth. It's like, yeah, it's already here. It's like, do you want to tune into where that's true, to how that's true? And for me, heaven comes from stopping. Stop resisting. Be still. Just let go. Trust. Breathe. And discover what's already here, not what needs to be created. I need to do this to be a better lover. I need to do this to get somewhere. It's like, start with where you actually are.
And actually really be there?
Be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that we can miss out on that completely. I'm fascinated by that. That we can miss out on the magnitude of experience that is available to us.
Yes.
And I really feel like the animal body is like a way into that. And, you know, you also talk about like the bliss chemicals that become available to us when we come out of that kind of survival mode. Yeah, which gets naturally activated. Yeah?
Totally, yeah.
I love you.
Yeah, okay, so
because that's what we all get to experience.
Yes,
in the
bliss
belly
chemicals. Yes.
Yeah.
The biochemicals of bliss.
Yeah.
For me, the animal body and the nervous system were the keys to. It's so funny because I just talked about all the subtle layers of everything that's happening all at once, and the insights for me came in sort of reducing everything to black and white. So working with the nervous system, which the whole body is a binary system.
What does binary mean?
Binary means that every cell in the body, every neuron in the body, it like flicks between on and off. Like the way that it's not nuanced. Like this cell is receiving light or it's not receiving light. It's on or it's off. Now, when you put, you know, millions of them together, then you start to get a more nuanced picture. But at the most basic animal body level, it's a binary system, like a computer. It's, you know, zeros and ones, zeros and ones. So I realized when I was working with traumatized people that the nervous system, it's either in survival or it flips to parasympathetic. And it's not, you can't have both of them going at once. They work in opposition to each other. So when someone is feeling stressed or traumatized, which is everyone in the world, and on the animal body level, our bodies are traumatized, they're stressed, the sympathetic nervous system is on, which means that at some level, even if it's a low-grade background kind of noise, we're poised for threat. We're looking for danger. We're always vigilant. Like what I say, the cat ears are always, you know, like we may be just sitting there watching TV or talking to someone, but always it's like, what was that? What was that? What was that? At some level. And the more without realizing it. And the more trauma that's in a system, the higher the vigilance that's going on.
That's so key. And amazing that can all happen without us even knowing it at all.
Totally.
Yeah. And it's only once it's gone, once you switch into the other, which we talk about now, that you realize, oh, this is what it feels like to be surrendered. This is what it feels like to feel loved and to have access to life. Or this is what it feels like to be connected to something beautiful and mysterious. Which before was completely like
not available
and bullshit.
Totally. Yes.
You know,
yes.
like what are you talking about? Like, yeah.
So if I look at it, I mean, it's possible to look at it neurobiologically, but even just if we look at it in terms of there's an animal inside of you that's job is to guard and protect you. So it is scanning the environment all the time for danger to keep you safe. So neurobiologically what happens is all of our energy and attention goes into the extremities. So arms, hands, feet, head, ears, eyes, everything. It's like, I'm looking for danger and I'm gonna like punch it, fight it, or flee. I have to respond to the danger that's here. And another part of that system is my body is flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. So the stress hormones are going, and the adrenaline makes me agitated, it makes me trigger happy, makes me just on the edge. And that from that place, it's impossible to love and connect.
And it kind of keeps you busy because it's a bit of a buzz as
well.
Like you really want to hold on to that because that's...
I feel alive.
Yeah, I feel alive.
I'm going to get them.
And otherwise, things are really going to fall apart. You know, it's like really, truly believe that this is what I should be doing. This is like a real threat. The threat feels real. Even though the threat might not be really, not even realize that we think that we're being threatened by something. So,
you know, one of the things that I say on a very practical level, if you start arguing with your partner, you go into the sympathetic nervous system, you're in fight or flight, your body is flooded with adrenaline, all you can see is threat and danger. There's no reasoning with you. Literally, the neocortex, which is the thinking part of your brain, switches off.
And they become the threat.
They become the threat.
That you must defend against. You must. Yeah. Great point.
So there's no... You can't resolve it by continuing to engage. All you will do is escalate.
Yes, absolutely.
So there has to be a way to back away from the fight and restore your own, they call it self-regulation, restore your own system to peace and connection.
In a tangible
way. And then come back together and you're wired to connect. So everything will feel completely different. So the last part that I want to say about that, the way that those two systems work, one goes to the extremities, and then when the red alert goes to yellow and then to green, all of that energy and attention that's been, all the nerves that have been switched on in the extremities come back to the core. So in the core, in the, like mammalian biology, what we're talking about is digest and rest. So all of that becomes available.
Big connection to your belly.
Totally. Yep.
And openness to your heart.
Yes.
It would be an awareness of these areas of your body.
Yep.
I love how you just scientifically explain
That's where
what I'm all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we're not in danger, when we're not perceiving that we have to fight or flight, then everything comes into the core, and we become available. We actually feel our personal power in a different way, not reactively. Yes. But as like a self-generated.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Rather than power that is, it needs to be something that's found through something.
Yes.
It's just something just you feel rumbling.
It's pre-existing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's right here.
Yeah, and it's self-nourishing.
Yes.
It's self-nourishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I call it the sun, the solar, is what becomes available when we unplug from the reactive and come back home to the heart and the belly. So as you know, a lot of the practice in the belly to belly is about using the breath as a way to bring our attention through the throat down into our lungs, into our chest, into our heart, dropping the diaphragm, bringing energy and warmth down to the belly, down to the pelvis. So we're in the core, and we're consistently activating the core, which flips the nervous system from one system to the other.
And there's another important little aspect in here is that we're doing it as we lie down and stare into someone else's eyes as we touch each other. And this is where belly to belly is. What I love is that, as you were saying the other day, it is so linked to Vipassana. It is present moment awareness, but there's these different pieces added in there that add a whole different dimension to it, which I personally feel is so relevant to us, because we, relationship is where we really get to learn about ourselves. True. And we are in relationship all the time, and this can be really uncharted territory, so we can get very aware of understanding how our mind works. But what about when we're actually exchanging when we're actually being seen? Yes. It's just, this is why I'm really so excited about belly to belly, because it gives us that access to that dimension. Yes. So can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah. So let me just wrap up the other, because that's the foundation for it. Usually when two strangers are coming together, there's a certain amount of social anxiety, and there's a certain amount of the animal body is like, oh, what's going on here? What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm not sure about this.
And what performance do I need to make?
Yes, so that you'll like me. Yeah. And you won't hurt me. So when we do the breathing and we work with bringing everything back to the core, what we're doing is creating the conditions for the whole body, for the whole system to be available for resting, digesting, connecting. So the intimacy that's generated in the practice is pretty much instant. I say you may be awkward for a few minutes, but just trust me, just get together and breathe and it will change. So when two bodies are coming together, when two people are coming together and dropping, another way to say it, like a layman's term, is dropping their defenses, taking off the armor, and coming into soft proximity with each other. And then the breathing brings us into a common rhythm. It brings us into a shared experience. So both of us, our bodies are moving at the same time. And then that creates more and more of a feeling of connection. Yeah. And when that starts happening, then the brain turns on the oxytocin and the dopamine.
And so that just happens naturally, The oxytocin just switches on as soon as there's a shared feeling of very deep relaxation. Yes. Yeah? Yes. That's cool,
It's a feeling of connection and bonding. So oxytocin has been most explored in terms of the mother-child bonding. And like breastfeeding, floods of oxytocin going through. And so, biologically that would make us want to take care of each other.
And because that the oxytocin, I imagine, gets like super stimulated in intimate, romantic type situations, I imagine that's why we're so pulled towards that.
Yes.
Because we're like, oh, we want that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's why I feel like it's really awesome to be able to experience this in different ways. It actually takes away some of the addiction towards that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So with the belly to belly, because we're doing practices with strangers most of the time, and because it's such a very tight container, meaning that there's rules of engagement, and you don't have to worry about enforcing your boundaries because
So,
the boundaries are built in. They're like the agreements that we have.
And I think that's kind of important to kind of state for people who have no idea what this would look like. But there is a really safe container. There's a really safe feeling in the room. That safety feeling is created through like in different ways. Yeah. So like through the introduction, the energy of the people there, just the environment in general. It's like this is a place where we can relax.
Yes.
So it's already supported in that. Yeah.
Yes. So there's thousands of ways to create safety in a container, and what we're doing is slowing everything down. So when we breathe, so when we breathe slowly and everything's very still, or very slow, gentle movements. So that's another way to create the safety. That you don't have to worry about like, oh, my hand's going to sneak around back here all of a sudden, because everything's happening in slow motion and there's plenty of time to respond.
And you're continually encouraging them to do different practices that are, you said it beautifully the other day, something like dissolving anxiety or deactivating anxiety. I forget which term, but I really loved it. Because obviously anxiety is something like all of us experience, and some of us chronically all the time. And the kind of practices, you're actually deactivating that mechanism. Constantly in the practice. Yes.
So that's the regular rhythm that we return to, I would say almost once a minute. We're coming back to. So whatever's been stirred up on the level of anxiety, we're using the breath to kind of like nip that in the bud.
Yes.
So we're constantly coming back to neutral. Coming back to neutral, and like, oh, I wonder if you like that. I wonder if that was okay with you. And then like, let's pause, look at each other. We both breathe together, and our animal bodies are like, still safe, still here. You didn't get up and run away. I didn't have to get up and run away. You're not going to hurt me. So what's this new reality?
Yeah. And like, oh, I revealed myself there. That was something uncomfortable that I normally would never want to share with anyone. But I just shared it, and I'm still okay.
Yes.
It's it's profound. The effects of that. It's absolutely profound. And it's something that's done in the practice, but obviously it helps people, I imagine, to keep on coming back to neutral throughout their life.
Yes.
Like they actually get to experience what neutral is.
Yes.
Yeah. And then so it's practical. It's not something that sticks to the practice. It's something that leaks into your everyday life.
And once you have, I'm a great believer in experience. Once you have experienced what it feels like to be safe and intimate and able to, the words are so off, like control or master your own responses. Once you feel comfortable, like you're not going to spiral out of control.
So you can become confident in your own power.
Confident, thank you, yes.
To actually return to your own sense of safety and wellness.
Totally.
It's like, wow, that's so empowering. Huh?
Yes.
Incredibly
empowering. And you know how to do it, and it's simple. It's like as easy as taking 3 deep breaths. So then, like if we take another context of a social situation where we're sitting down and having tea and we're talking, and you say something and I get distracted for a second and you think, oh, he's bored, or oh, he doesn't like that, or something. Rather than clearing the slate, that just sort of like piles up. And then you start looking for, is he really unhappy right now? Does he want to be here? And then you start finding more and more evidence for it, and the stress level builds up more and more, and you never get a chance to clear it. So with these practices, you can be looking at me and you'd be going, oh, I'm thinking that he might not like this right now. I'm just going to take a breath into my heart, and I'm going to take a, am I still here? Is he still here? Are we still safe? Are we still engaging? Checking in. And it can be a private experience, like I'm regulating my own body. It can be I'm regulating my own body and I'm taking a risk by asking, I'm wondering if you're comfortable right now, or if there's anything else that you need. Or would you like the conversation to go in a different direction?
Yeah, and it's taking the personal out of it.
Yes.
In the best way possible.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's what I'm finding, like the change in myself is that, in my relating, I'm able to, rather than getting to a point where I feel like, oh, there's a weird energy, there's something going on here, there's some kind of resistance, he's resisting against me, oh my God, I'm just noticing it.
Nice.
And I'm checking in with myself, and then I'm addressing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's just revolutionary when it comes to relating. It's like two intelligent bodies that feel connected to self. Then when that two people feeling like that get together to relate, a whole other universe opens up when you're relating. Yeah. So it's actually taking away a lot of just like like animal posturing between you, so that you can be like, oh, we're sharing a whole universe here. And what I love in the belly to belly is then you're using this format to explore what is going on in that reality.
Yeah,
so say about that.
So the whole, all of this has been set up so that we can come to the point of actually being present together in the now moment without worry, without thoughts, without defensiveness, and continuously check in and then start to explore our senses, start to explore the feelings, start to explore the way the energy is moving. And like you said, in like intimate romantic relationships, these kinds of things tend to happen. It's like, oh, here comes the flood. Whoa, okay, I'm like swept away by it, and I unconsciousness rules. And
emotions get all trapped in it. Story gets trapped in it.
So in this practice, we're slowing everything down and leaving lots of space between each thing that we do. So we have time to be and let things register and explore, like, well, I have a thought that this is happening for you, and what's really happening for me? Oh, and sometimes the realization is, oh, I'm the one who feels nervous. And I'm imagining that you are because I am. So, like, what can I do about my own nervousness right now?
So because that might have been playing out your whole life unconsciously. And then you can have a 5-minute sharing with a complete stranger and realize, oh, okay, this was my story. And and in an environment where that's okay.
Yeah, where that's not only safe, it's the game. It's what we're doing. It's what everyone's doing. So we're playing it together. So you get to share what your inner world is, and I get to share what my inner world is. And we're in the same moment. So it's different from, it's not like sitting down and having tea and I tell you about, my last 3 relationships, and you tell me about your mother and, like what you want to do when you graduate and things like that. This is about, we're only focused on here and now. So by being focused,
that's super key.
Super key.
We're only focused on the here and now.
We're only focused on the present
which
moment.
is a revolution in itself. In terms of, like, you can see how the standard interaction happens on the street, which is about lots of different up here. It's this experience. This subtle quality of experience becomes very magnified.
Yes. So one of the analogies that you might use for it is, usually when people get together, I pull out my photo album and I show you all these things about my past. And then you show me all these things about your past, and we feel like we really have gotten to know each other.
You've shared your persona, I've shared my persona, we're feeling comfortable
Yes.
in that, you know,
Yes.
that little game.
So the difference in this is, rather than looking at the photos, we're going on a vacation together, and we're like in Bali, and there's like all these things happening all around us,
and inside of us
together, and I can go, oh, look, did you notice this? And oh, here comes that butterfly.
Yeah, and I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
And, whoa, and I'm feeling that you're feeling like you that. And
yeah, and so we can continuously refer to the same shared experiences.
And the textures within that.
Yes.
That could go unnoticed.
Yes, that do go unnoticed.
They totally go unnoticed. And so why would it be in anyone's best interest to get to know the nuances and textures of a shared reality rather than...
Okay, because this is where the spiritual part comes in. We all make the core assumption that we're separate and alone. So what proves that is we're here right now, and I'm having all these thoughts and feelings that I'm not sharing with you, so you don't get to respond to them. You don't get to interact with them. And I get to believe I'm the one who's feeling, I'm so in love with her and she doesn't care about me at all. Or, oh, I wonder if it's, you know, like if she needs, do we need to like go to lunch now or something? I wonder what's happening with her hunger level. But I don't say anything about that stuff. So it becomes a private reality. And so I feel separate. And in these kinds of practices, what we're doing is whatever I'm using to create the feeling of separation and separateness, I bring it up and put it on the table between us, and then you get to comment on it too. And what we discover 9 times out of 10 is that both of us were feeling that, but we didn't quite know how to put words on it. And by sharing that, yeah, me too. And like, that's what that was.
And I feel that slightly differently. Isn't that fascinating?
Yes.
And isn't that okay as well? It's okay that you're not feeling the exact same thing as me.
Yes.
And that's very comforting as well, I find. Yeah.
And so we get to have an experience that we're not alone. We're not in separation.
Which is so massive.
Yes.
It's so huge. A feeling that we are not separate, a feeling that we are not alone. I mean, many people go through their whole lives feeling like on a level that they might not even be aware of, that they're very alone.
And on a level, so I love stats and trivia and shit like that.
Give the masculine aspect.
So
I don't know if that one.
This is like 10 years ago already was a survey that in the United States, 25% of the adults reported that they had no one to discuss important decisions with. They were so isolated. Like, I went to the doctor and they said I need to do this thing. I have no one to talk to about it. And I mean, that's like the most egregious example. I can imagine people living alone in apartments and taking the subway to work and things like that. But on lesser levels, I think that happens for everyone all the time.
Yeah.
It's like I have things that are going on for me that I don't feel comfortable sharing. I'm ashamed of, or I'm afraid if I tell you about it, you won't like me or you'll abandon me.
Yeah, and this can happen in relationships which has been going on for 20 years.
Yes,
even more so, because like, oh, she knows that I didn't tell her that, you know, especially you haven't said something for 20 years.
Yes.
And also if you're working with someone else who isn't open and welcoming.
Yes.
So it's like learning to create an environment where things are open and welcome so they can actually come out on the table.
Yes.
And get cleared.
Yes.
And then we can feel not separate.
Yes.
And we can feel connected. And from that place, we can feel good.
Yes.
And we can also feel curious and excited about life. And rather than like, oh no, maybe this might, you know, on some level, kind of like having to guard and control against it.
Yes.
There's this attitude of, wow, this is happening. Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, and then when I interact with you in that way, I feel really scared, or I feel really, you know, for me, it's been extremely liberating to be able to share my stuff. Yeah. You know,
your experience.
My experience. And yeah, isn't that how incredible that we can go through life without sharing our deepest experience with someone? I really
What's up with that?
Yeah, what is up with that? Totally. Exactly, and this is why I'm so excited about this practice and what it helps us to reclaim back into our lives.
Yes, and reclaim is a great word for it, because the way that I see this, some of it's animal body, I look through that lens, and some of it is child. So if a child feels safe in the world, the natural, you watch toddlers, they almost like fall forward because they're leaning into life so much. I'm curious, I want this, I want to see this, I want to explore. And so that childlike sense of wonder creates the most amazing foundation for relationship. It's not like, oh, I'm sitting back here with my checklist. Let's see if you match my perfect partner or best friend material here. Nope, sorry, next.
Yeah, and I'm not going to show this part because then you might not like me, and then I might be out, and then it's going to trigger all the things that I want to feel, and like let's just protect ourselves against all of that.
Yes.
In case I feel unsafe.
Yes. So my belief about intimacy, after going through all the sexual trauma and stress and nervous system and animal body, is that our natural state is childlike wonder and innocence. And this is what informs my work with sexuality, and this is what informs my work with intimacy and love. How do we get people remove enough of the layers of conditioning and fear so they can just simply be present and be like, whoa, wow, that's cool. And just have a playful time with each other. And explore the differences and have fun with them.
It's a completely different paradigm. It's a completely different world. It's such an amazing world to live in, isn't it?
Yes.
And available to all of us.
Available to everyone.
Everybody, no matter what the level of trauma, no matter the level of the conditioning. That's in that way I feel like that's great news. This there's a way back to this beautiful natural wonder of life.
Yes. And to like worst case scenarios. In the beginning of my career, I worked with a lot of women who had been raped, a lot of women who had been incested, molested as children, like the most horrendous circumstances you can imagine. And all of it it's possible to undo it. It's possible to come back to normal and feel your own safety and your own strength and begin to relate to the world in more unguarded and loving and connected ways.
And then I imagine once that is accessed inside, experiences, then life then responds in that way. And so that kind of situation is not magnetized into your reality again.
Right.
And so actually it changes the whole thing.
It does.
This relationship from inside. And I love that you just use that example of women who've experienced trauma, because obviously it's something it's so widely prevalent.
Yes.
And beautiful that you've been able to work with women like that and actually seeing transformations.
And on the other side of the scale, I've also done some work, not the belly-to-belly work, but private work in prisons with rapists and even a murderer once. And it's possible to get through to the little child inside them too. So all of this is undoable.
And you would work with the same principles with anybody that you meet.
Yes.
Yeah. Providing a very safe space, giving them skills that they can create and access this own safe space in themselves. And then bring this into their attitude, bring an inquiry into their moment reality. And
then bring in the interpersonal communication skills.
And then bring in the interpersonal,
so that not only am I feeling safe and being curious and having new experiences, I'm able to talk and share about them so someone else can join me.
Yeah, I think that is incredibly key in your work. That's really excites me. I know how hard it's been for me, especially when I was a teenager, like to express what was going on with me, especially with a lover. It was just like under lock and key. It was like even if I wanted to get it out of my mouth, it was impossible. And I even find it still in belly to bellies. I'm still progressing in that way. And so it actually gives us practice. To kind of, to get it out, to get it out. So, you know, it's really amazing. I feel like that's so valuable. It's so valuable for people.
So let me kind of clarify some of that from my perspective.
Please. That
what we're doing in belly to belly, because everything is so slowed down and happens in such small microdoses, I call it. So sometimes in other therapies and workshops, and you know, over the years I've seen people say, well, you just have to fully express yourself and then everything will be fine. And so people bring up too much too fast, and it's overwhelming for the other person. And all that occurs is I get to prove that I'm too much. My desires are too weird. Like the way that I'm thinking is not acceptable. Like
so
all
it just reinforces. Because it comes out in a messy way. It just like reinforces all that feeling of like I am wrong, and this is like, oh, and this feels so really yucky, and I'm confused now. So
I want to be clear that what we're talking about is not just purging. And when we do it in these safe, contained experiments, like for this minute, for the next 60 seconds, you're going to tell me a little bit about what you're feeling moving in your body right now. And I'm going to listen and explore with you. And then we're going to pause, take a sacred pause, and take 3 deep breaths together so that animal bodies and the nervous systems can reset to everything's cool, everything's cool. And so, like you were talking about, and it's a very common experience to have like our secret feelings and desires under lock and key, even when we're with a lover.
Maybe even especially
when we're, So rather than like blurting out, I really want to be tied up and I want to whip you.
And then feeling really exposed.
Yes. So how do we bring this up in microdoses? And the way is always the present moment. So in the present moment, what I'm feeling is I'm having a hard time like really being like swept away with my sensations. Like I still have a lot of thoughts going in my head, and I'm wondering if you can touch me a little more intensely.
I think that would work for me.
And even just like an invitation or an inquiry like that is non-threatening. It's like, then I can go, touch you intensely. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but maybe like instead of I've been doing this, and I might just like grab your shoulders. And so we're in a shared investigation together, which is creating more intimacy just by the fact that you're not locked up in your own private reality, and I'm over here going, God, I wonder what she really wants. Like maybe I'm not the right man for her, or maybe I'm not man enough for her. Something's going on. So we're sharing in little tastes, little tests.
So we're liberating ourselves from the world of the stories and the projections. And just coming back to this. I feel this like nothing. I feel like this right now. I feel like this in my body. I think is also good to point out is that for everyone it's different. So you know, for instance, the way what men will end up sharing is very different usually from what a woman will end up sharing. And but that's his version of his subtle inner realm right then. And it'll also usually progress as he gains more access into that. So I mean, I feel like I want to speak to this because whereas like, you know, for women, maybe feeling and sensation energy is a little bit more readily available. And then, you know, there's this whole movement towards like men becoming more conscious and more sensitive and sensitive in a way of like really being here. And that involves really being in the body. And so these sorts of practices give women, but really give men an opportunity to just see what it's like to be in there and to vocalize it. And that might start with something very basic, like, oh, my left thumb feels a little bit like this, you know, and it's just like baby steps. And, you know, more access is gained through those explorations. And so I think it's, I personally, you know, applaud the fact that there is a format that all people, but particularly men, can follow to access the more subtle levels of their experience in a way that can be shared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Men and women, in my experience, have, it's hard to believe, but have equally intense safety issues. If I generalize, which I'm about to, women's safety issues are more about being physically overpowered or emotionally ravaged, penetrated, hurt in some way.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And men's men's safety issues aren't so much about physical, like I'm not afraid that you're going to beat me up, but I am afraid that you could stick a knife into my sense of masculinity and power, and I would believe like you would take all the air out of me and I would feel like a complete failure as a man.
Ooh.
And then how do I go to work the next day?
Ooh.
How do I talk to my buddies? It's like, so providing a context or container in which women can feel safe, like nobody's going to emotionally attack them, nobody's going to physically attack them.
No one's going to push them too quickly.
No, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
Expect them to do anything that they don't feel like doing.
Yes. So we even have practices in there about saying no, about not yet, or let's do this instead, or I'll try this for 30 seconds, but then the gong is going to go off and it's going to stop.
And just for a woman to feel like she has options,
yes,
that she could say no, is just massive.
Yes, it is.
And if they could actually practice that with another man right there, you know, it's so transformative.
It is, because that's the kind of thing you can take out into your life.
Absolutely, and say that the men version.
Yeah, so for the men to feel that they can go into this vulnerable, uncharted realm of emotions and energy and begin to fumble and say words for it and not be cut off, not be like, oh God, you're like a kindergartner with this shit. Come on, tell me what you're really feeling. And he's trying really hard, but he got stunted at age 3. So his emotional vocabulary is that of a 3-year-old. So a chance to experiment and be received and be encouraged. Like, yes, like, thank you. I really feel that and I'm with you. And then that builds confidence and success. And then from there, the next time will be a little bit easier.
And I wasn't judged for being a man or not being a man. I'm not being judged at all here.
Yes.
I'm just exploring.
Yeah. So this is actually, to bring this around full circle, this is actually a lot of the same tools, techniques that are done in trauma recovery. And the basis of that is to offer an opportunity for a very small baby step that's successful and then stopping and resting. So it's not, you're going to get over everything all at once.
I think I would just want to put in there that baby step, you know, could feel like a baby step when really it's like a huge step because you've actually revealed something that you've spent your entire life trying to hide. But it just felt like a baby step, but it was huge. And it has a ripple effect way through your reality.
Definitely.
But it did feel like a baby step because it was like guided in a way that felt so safe.
It wasn't like, here, you have to jump all the way across this river and being on the other side where everybody's like loving and freely speaking and all this. It's just like, for a lot of people, just to look into someone's eyes for 30 seconds is a huge deal.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed this so much.
Yes.
And we've got like, you know, 2 or 3 minutes, and I just wonder if you could just a couple of minutes to talk through the viewers a little bit of a, you know, just give them a little bit of belly to belly. just breathe them into their heart. And
Okay, yeah. Because the core of belly to belly and the practice that happens with this is 3 deep breaths. So it's to begin with, close your eyes and take a deep breath into your heart. Let's do that again. Put your hands on your heart. And take a deep breath, so deep that your hands actually move out. Your rib cage opens and your hands move or pushed out. One more time with the heart. And then let yourself make a little bit of sound on the exhale. Beautiful. Now put your hands down on your belly, centered around your navel, maybe a little above your navel. Just feel the comfort of being held there by yourself, by your own hands. And take a deep breath into your belly. And again, let your belly expand, let it stick out. Don't worry about what you look like. Let the hands move out. And a little bit of a sound on the exhale into your belly again. Once more, just to enjoy the feeling of more breath moving in your body. And then put your hands down on your hips somewhere. They can be like on the outside, like where your pockets would be if you were wearing pants. And you can take a deep breath down there. Feel all the way down. Feel the warmth moving down your throat, through your lungs, through your belly, your abdomen, down into your hips and your pelvis. And again, maybe push a little bit with your hands so you really feel where your attention is flowing to. One more time. And just that simple practice, if you do it like during the course of your day when nobody's looking, because you probably feel weird at first, just 3 breaths into your heart, 3 breaths into your pelvis, into your belly, and then 3 breaths into your pelvis and your hips. And that will help your nervous system come out of whatever level of anxiety or stress is going on and move all the energy and focus back into your core where you can feel your own power and your own connection and your own beautiful self.
Yay! I feel really good.
And that's a bonus that happens is we feel really, really good.
Yeah, it actually feels great. Yeah, in such a simple, beautiful way. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy. And if they want to know more about you and your work, where should they go?
There's nowhere to go right now.
Oh, I love that.
You should go into your own heart and your own belly and your own hips.
You don't want to say a website?
We don't have a website yet. Everything's changing around with that.
Anyway, his name is David Cates. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm sure you got so much out of this. Yeah, my name's Sonja Shradha Devi. Go to shaktiflows.com if you want my free training series. And tune in at some point, either on the Facebook page, Intimacy Dialogues, or on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Sonja Shradha Devi, for more amazing intimacy dialogues. Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Yay! Yay! Okay, good.
Okay, great.